God can't save you from yourself. Love struck, shot by someone else. Fell out quick to snatch your breath. Laying to rest, running until you're dead, dead. Sleep with the sun. I know where you are. You're not the one waking me up. You're making it up through the dust on the shells. So you're better than yourself. Sleep with the sun. I know where you are. You're not the one waking me up. You're making it up through the dust on the shells. So you're better than yourself. God can't save you from yourself. Love struck, shot by someone else. Fell out quick to snatch your breath. Laying to rest, running until you're dead, dead. Sleep with the sun. I know where you are. You're not the one waking me up. You're making it up through the dust on the shells. So you're better than yourself. Sleep with the sun. I know where you are. You're not the one waking me up. You're making it up through the dust on the shells. So you're better than yourself.
This is the first time I've seen that video in like almost a year, and I was just like looking at all the little things in there, like like in the break in between the first chorus and the second verse, and it's got the slow mo and the cymbals. As we were watching that, I was like, "Damn, that's a good job."
Dude, I mean, yeah, that is what's up. That guys, that was Mountain Eyes, and that is this is the first time we've like got to like open up one of our shows with like a music video, so that's super dope. Really excited that you were down to share that with us. So this is The Safest Ledge, and this is Mason from The Safest Ledge, and he's here to BS with us about things that we like to BS about, and we're super pumped to have you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course, dude. That was the track Mountain Eyes. I think that was on The Space Between Words, right, from last year?
Correct, yes.
Very cool, very cool. So go ahead and check that out if you get an opportunity. But let's just like dive right into it. So
let's do it.
Mason, man, what's going on, man? What are you up to? It looks like you got some like trees behind you. I'm loving that.
Yeah. I'm just in my sunroom. Yeah. So
Nice.
2 days ago, we just played a show with Movements at Mahal's in Lakewood, Ohio. That was a blast. That was really cool. It's funny because the show probably got booked like 3 days prior to the show, and we got put on 2 days prior because of like the company that books it, Bravo Artist. We've been real tight with them for years. Like we're playing a show with Silent Planet for them on Thursday.
Sweet.
And we've been playing shows with them for years, but we luckily just had good rapport with them, and asked them for the show and it worked out. But I mean, it was fantastic, and it was the first time we played a show in 17 months. So all of us were obviously very emotional about it, and I think that was just an amazing kickoff. Especially when you're like a low level touring band. To be blunt, you know what I mean? Because our music world is way different than a lot of other musicians, and
Sure.
One night it could be awesome, one night it could be absolutely horrid. So it was really awesome and special that the kickoff back to what we've been waiting for so long was that just monumentous.
Cool. And that is super awesome. And I kind of want to get a little bit of the skinny about the show, and really what I want to know is
For sure.
and you could be honest, you could be totally honest with me, but like, are kids really feeling no good left to give, or are they still just going nuts for the feel something stuff?
I think everybody received all the new songs pretty good, but when they play Third Degree or Full Circle, or like they even played Kept. They played Kept off of Outgrown Things, and my brother who's 16, that was like his first rock show he'd ever been to, and he was going nuts over that one. So I think that's just natural. Everybody just like always likes the oldies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So once that record's old in a couple years, everyone's gonna be talking about how Skin to Skin's the best song or something like that.
Yeah. And Movements just actually released I think 2 weeks ago, like a couple.
Yeah, the B-sides
from the record, which are actually really good.
Yeah, they are.
So and it's kind of cool because you tell us that you played a show with Movements, and listening to that track we just had the opportunity to listen to. I feel a little bit of Movements in that, you want
to know? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you go ahead, man, please.
So what's funny about that is, so we started this band in like late 2014. It was under a different name. So are either of you in a band or have been in bands?
I've been, yeah, for sure.
So when you're when you're trying to figure out a name, you want it to be you want it to be easily found on a Google search. So we were idiots, and we didn't know back then that would even be a problem. So we named our old the first version of the Safest Sledge was called Noir, Noir. Old movies and Cologne and stuff. Of
course. Sure.
So if you Google the name, we were probably exactly.
Car Noir.
If you Googled the word, we were probably on the 300th page of Google search. So when we started the band, we were really into bands like Hotel Books and Being as an Ocean. We were really into the whole post-hardcore and spoken word thing at the same time, and that's what Movements was doing at the time, was with Protection and everything on Outgrown Things. So it's funny because we feel like we were kind of molded from the same exact influences, and we came up kind of at the same time. Obviously one had success versus one thing, but it's funny because it feels like we've naturally progressed along with their sound, which we haven't always sounded like them to a T or anything like that, but we've always kind of had the same vibe to our band. And it's funny, we were playing a show with do you guys remember Hotel Books?
Yeah, I do. Sure.
Yeah, we were playing a show with them back in 2015.
Oh wow.
And Pat from Movements was just kind of there, and it was in Kent, Ohio, and his band wasn't on the tour either. So we were like, "Oh, what's up, man? What are you doing here?" And we just talked to him about it. And I think that was right after they got signed to Fearless. And I was talking to him about that the other day. I was like, you probably don't remember this, but you were just at this random show in Kent, and me and everybody from my band were talking to you about it. And he was like, "Yeah, I do remember that." So it was just kind of ironic, but that's always been the band that we've easiest made the comparison when we tell people what we sound like. Is just we sound like Movements, because when they were doing the spoken word thing, we were doing the spoken word thing, and they've stopped doing that and we've stopped doing it. I can't really, I don't really dig that kind of music anymore, but it is what it is.
So tell me about, you said it was Lakewood, Ohio?
Yeah, so Lakewood is west of Cleveland. It's basically is Cleveland. It's just kind of a smaller city within a city. Yeah, you know how Fort Worth is basically Dallas, but it's right next to Dallas, kind of like that.
Yeah.
And was it just a one-off date? Because they're doing Sad Summer, right?
Yeah. They just booked a one-off in Cleveland, literally probably 3 days before the actual show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was just last minute, we got a day off, let's play it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So did kids come out and enjoy that? Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was it was, I think I don't know what the cap of the room is, especially now with COVID protocols, but there was at least 300 kids there. So wow. I mean, yeah, people really showed up for it. It was a blast.
Yeah, we got some homies that are from Akron.
Oh yeah,
our dudes our dudes in My Mouth is the Speaker.
Okay, I haven't heard of
Love
them,
that
but
band.
I
So good.
definitely played a lot of Akron shows and with a
Yeah.
lot of Akron bands. I'm like an hour east of Akron.
Yeah, it's cool because like it seems like all the different like Ohio communities are kind of really pretty tight, you know, like seems like the Cincy community's tight and Columbus is tight and you know and
It's
Cleveland is
really
tight. Yeah.
it's really funny you say that because Akron's always had a really big DIY scene. They've always
Mhm.
well for a while they had like 10 DIY venues all at
Yeah.
once, and now I think it's down to like 3 or 5, something like that. But there was a time where they were all sprouting up like crazy, and we were playing a couple. Cleveland's always had a really great scene because they've had Bravo artists booking their shows for years. You know, they've had the Agora, the Foundry, Mayhalls, Beachland Ballroom, the Fantasy. You know, they've always had great venues. They've always had really good shows, really good tour packages come through, especially for bands that play those 300 to 500 cap rooms.
Yeah.
And then Cincy, I honestly, you know, we've only played one show in Cincy. We played it for, we had a Columbus show cancel like 2 days or like a couple days before the show, like 2 years ago. And this guy, Kubert Sider, he booked us a last minute show in his basement. So we got a lot of love for Cincy too. And we played some cool Columbus shows too.
Yeah.
But,
I know.
yeah, Ohio.
Oh, no,
Oh,
go ahead,
sorry,
man. Yeah. No, you're
But yeah, no, the Ohio scene's cool, and really the Midwest in general, because there's a lot of bigger cities in the Midwest. Like there's not a lot of like A markets. Like it's not like New York, LA, Chicago. Well, Chicago, yeah. But like the cool thing about touring in the Midwest, especially if you're a regional band or like even a low level touring band, is you know you could really hit a lot of markets really in a span of like a week or a couple days because like say you're like out like living in like Seattle or something like that, like if you're doing a weekend run, like you're gonna play Seattle, Portland, and then something on the way home, and that's the only thing you could do. You know,
Yeah,
so
true.
we're like spoiled here in Ohio because you know a short distance is Cleveland, Toledo, Detroit, Cincinnati, Columbus, New York. Not
Yeah.
really New York, but you know what I mean, Philly, Pittsburgh. So
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
Cool. So in Cleveland, isn't that where Alt Press's headquarters are as well?
Yes, it is.
So I know that they were doing like their own alternative music award show.
Yeah, the APMAs. They had it for a while at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then they did it at the Q one year, which was pretty cool. Because like I don't know, sometimes you forget like how big like the alternative music world really is, and you're like, oh wow, they like sold out a whole arena for that. That's crazy, you know. But yeah.
Have you ever had a chance to catch one of them?
No. I remember watching like the first APMAs on like a live stream, but I never got to go to any of them. I know they stopped doing them.
Yeah, I remember that there was that one year where like Jack from All Time Low was just like, it was like one band that was just doing all these covers. I think it was actually Neck Deep maybe. And like they just had all different people like come on and play, which is super cool.
I remember they had Joe Perry that night from Aerosmith. He presented an award.
That's awesome. It's funny because the VMAs are tonight, right? I think.
Is it really? Oh,
yeah, I think so, man.
I didn't even know that.
We're competing with them.
Yeah, we're competing with Mike Cordone. He's
we gotta say something controversial. Boost the numbers up.
No, for sure. But so it's kind of cool though because you know, like I've been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, which was really dope, and
awesome place.
And they had like when I was there, they had like this room that was actually dedicated to alternative press, and I think it was like a limited thing they were doing. And they had all these different issues that were like up on the walls and stuff, and they had like ones you could thumb through and flip through. It's cool, man. It was like you know the first couple of episodes of like AP have like absolute superstars. Like I'm pretty sure Nirvana had a cover, Green Day had a cover, the Violent Femmes had a cover. It's like all these bands that are like, you know, without them, alternative music wouldn't be anywhere, you know, damn near what it is today. But I think alternative press is still kind of like out there, like still kicking out the jams. Like I think they're doing, I don't know if they do like actual like mags anymore, but like I know they're definitely doing like some digital print stuff. I don't know if anybody knows, but you know, I remember they were like a full magazine, like a full, and then they went to like a small guy, and then but I definitely had like 25 of them in my bathroom.
I definitely still have a lot of them, like probably in my closet somewhere. I remember I used to get them like monthly.
Yeah, me too.
And then you get the Hot Topic because like everybody's everybody's bands would always try to get in the bands you should know section. And, you know, I had a bunch of friends that were in there, so I'd always buy all these copies. Yeah.
Tom, you were in that, right? Wasn't Ink and Lead in one?
Ink and Lead was in one. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
It was cool. Yeah. And, My Mouth is the Speaker. We're in like the 100 bands you need to know feature too. So yeah, I mean, it used to be the thing, you know, it used to be like if Alternative Press said something about you, like you, you know, you had a little bit of moxie behind you, but now it's just like, how many streams are you getting? And like, how many?
Well, you know what?
Like,
it's like a music nowadays, or at least like in our alternative landscape, is like, it's like a viral free for all, you know, because you know, the weight of press really does not have the weight it used to, because, and this really goes for journalism in all facets, because YouTube and Facebook have dominated the ad market so vigorously that, like, you know, websites like, let's say, like, let's go out of music for a second, like even like the Wall Street Journal, like they probably don't make much from ad revenue. That's why, you know, that's why press right now is so, you know, focused on engagement, because, you know, that ad revenue that was there before based off of like old stories just kind of doesn't get that anymore. You know, unfortunately, that's just, you know, how the internet works now. But, you know, I've had a couple friends like in the music world who have gotten really big off TikTok. A buddy of mine, he does a pop project called Starletta. He went from 58 monthly listeners to 100,000 monthly listeners in 2 days, because his song blew up on TikTok. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, obviously it's different if you, you know, if you have, you know, like more mainstream sounding music, it's way easier to go viral, you know, because you don't have to dominate a certain niche. You know, because like going viral for like a rock band on TikTok is really specific, because you got to make like content that's geared towards rock fans. And, you know, remember, like, you know, and like Tommy, you might, you know, you might remember this too. Like, remember when like people were like buying likes a lot and like buying accounts? Like, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's something we thought about before. We were like, and I know that's like a dirty thing to like admit, but like, you know, like every once in a while you're like, shit, maybe like having 10,000 Instagram followers would be cool. Like maybe we should buy an account off somebody. But like the problem is with that is like, we are in a niche music audience, and not everybody that follows you might like rock music, or that specific subset of rock music, or that subgenre. Yeah. You know, so it's, you know, it's a lot more difficult for, you know, our alternative world.
No, you're absolutely right.
We should buy an account, Tom, for our podcast. Like, just be huge, like 100,000 followers for a podcast.
We're never beating Chicklets. Doesn't matter. Chicklets is always going to have one up on us, but no, I agree with that, and I think that there's you know, I think alternative music is still marketable today. I mean, maybe not at the, you know, when it was at its peak, you know, with like Fall Out Boy and Paramore and like All American Rejects and, you know, All Time Low, where it was like really like the thing, you know.
If you want my personal opinion of why it's alternative music is becoming less marketable, I think there's two things. One, there's less ways to find it and be exposed to it, because I know that sounds crazy, because we have the internet. You could look up any music you want, like, you know, which makes sense to an extent, because like, let's say hyperpop, for instance, like 100 gecs, you know, you would not find that if it's not for the internet. But you know, our tastes are becoming more curated to what's popular, and that's why, you know, things like which really gets into my second point, really, which dominates it, is this scene is kind of having less and less big stars, you know what I mean? Less and less Haley Williams and Pete Wentz's and Alex Gaskars, especially in bands coming up. And honestly, I kind of understand that, because, you know, with what you have to deal with social media now, like I can't imagine if you have a huge fan base and you got to deal with, you know, to be honest, like some of the mean shit people just say to you just cause. You know what I mean? I can't imagine having to be like a Pete Wentz nowadays, because, you know, who wants to deal with that kind of backlash? And, you know, like we'll talk about like hockey and sports later, but like say this, for instance, like, do you want to be a sports villain nowadays? Probably not, because then you're going to have whatever market's fan base probably going at you 24/7 and just memeing you and everything. And who wants to deal with that kind of constant abuse? you know? So I don't see why anybody would want to be, well, obviously I do, because success and being able to live off of making music, but why would somebody want to be a Haley Williams or a Pete Wentz or something like that nowadays? Because it comes with so much baggage. But with that, we just don't have many guys or girls like that in the scene right now. Because even 10 years ago, you had like Kellen Quinn and Danny Worsnop and, you know, the Austin Carlisle, those bigger figures in the scene. And it feels like that's dwindling a lot. And because of that, you know, less casual music fans get into this genre, because it just kind of goes back to that yearn for like excitement that we have when it comes to music. And, you know, alternative music isn't always the most, let's say, exciting music compared to like other things, like obviously like rap and hip hop. You know, like rap and hip hop has stars and stars and stars, you know what I mean? And like, you know, controversial figures and something. And, you know, and I love everything about alternative music, but at the same time, you know, I can understand people that aren't into the stuff we like, why it doesn't strike a chord with them.
Yeah. And I think there's also something to be said about alternative music just by its nature having more introversion than extroversion, you know?
Yes,
so like,
yes,
so
absolutely.
I think like if you look at like, you know, a guy like Dan Campbell from the Wonder Years, right? Like, you know, like you really like, could you put him like front and center, like on a magazine or like on camera and stuff? Like, yeah, I'm sure you could, but like, you know, the type of content that you would get out of him versus like a guy like Lil Nas X is just like complete separate parallels. And but then of course, like as a fan of alternative music, maybe you're not looking for all that boisterousness or
maybe so.
But at the same time, like there's something definitely to be said about, you know, being able to market such a broad personality. Like, I mean, like, you know, let's not lie to one another. Like the Kanye saga will continue until Kanye is dead. He's gone from this earth, but it's because he's such a polarizing figure.
Controversy. You know what? Nowadays, too, in this media landscape, when it comes to things that go viral, get more attention, you know, being controversial, we're rewarded for being controversial because then you're trending, you get engagement and everything like that. You know, I always call it like outrage marketing. You know what I mean? If an artist in we talked about the VMAs, it's like basically invented this, you know. And remember how there used to be a controversial thing at the VMAs every single year? And I'm sure they still do. I just honestly haven't paid attention to the VMAs since 2008. But like, remember there used to be something that happened every year, whether it be the Kanye and Taylor
and Madonna.
Britney and Madonna, Kanye and Taylor, Nicki Minaj and Miley Cyrus. Like
wasn't it the VMAs too? I think that was like one of the first like turn of the century VMAs was when was it the bassist of Rage climbed the scaffolding? I think that was actually at the VMAs too. Yeah, he just like literally, you know, so but you're right, like to your point, you know, controversy like begets cash. Like it's just kind of the way that the world is. But I think though that there's something to be said about just the depth of creation with alternative music. And, you know, we've talked about it a bunch of times on the pod before, but we've kind of made an allusion to how the era of the album as a piece of artistry is starting to kind of wash away, you know, where a lot of alternative bands are more focused on singles and, you know, putting out a single, waiting a couple of months, another single. Whereas, you know, what struck me so deeply with alternative music was, you know, the album as a whole, which is go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm so bad at interrupting you guys. I'm so
bad. We're bad at interviewing, so it's fine.
Hey, so like, let me bounce that off you guys. Like, what do you prefer? Would you prefer from your favorite artist a single every month, or would you prefer an album once every 2 years?
I'll answer first because I feel very strongly about albums. I think that, you know, the stories that artists tell they don't even have to be concept albums, but the stories that artists tell in an album, it goes much deeper than just a single. And also to top onto that, you can get a better sense of a band in an album than you can in a single, because like, you know, you could put out a single and, you know, tick a lot of boxes for people, but you know, if the other 9 tracks surrounding your single are like a little bit more subdued or different, like, you know, it's like it kind of cultivates the whole idea of, okay, this is what we are as a whole. We're not just a one trick pony. We could do this, that, and this in the context of writing an album. So that's what I believe.
Yeah.
I'll kind of shoot it up to Mikey over here.
I think it comes, you know, with the level a band is, right? Like if what are you trying to do over there?
I was trying to
You know
point
what?
to you.
Mikey, I was going to say the exact same thing, because here's what I take it from my perspective. When you're a band the size of like The Safest Ledge, I don't know how many monthly listeners we have offhand. I think it's like 4,000. You know, like, it pays to be able to put out a single every month, even though we can't do that because you really can't afford that unless you have a producer in your band. But like, it pays to do singles, you know, semi-regularly compared to an album, because it's, you know, like we've been saying, it's the struggle of engagement, the struggle of going viral and consistent content. But like, if you're a band like let's say Movements, like we've been talking about, like, you know, it just pays to do an album because, you know, you're going to do a whole touring cycle off of it and so on and so forth. But I think it really depends on the size of the artist. But I'm sorry, Mikey, I just totally cut you off.
No, I totally agree. Like, for example, State Champs, like they have put out like 2 singles fairly recently, and like their new album's coming out in a couple of weeks. Like, they can do that where they could just put out a couple of singles, you know, 1 or 2 weeks before the album comes out, and then like the album blow up. Whereas smaller bands, if they do that and then put out the album, they're not going to get that engagement or get onto those editorial playlists and things like that are necessary for them to get their listeners up and stuff.
It is truly a dog-eat-dog world when it comes to alternative music. I mean, music in general, but, you know, especially like at, like, say, like a band the size of The Safest Ledge, you know, it just is, you know. And as much as, you know, the artistry tells us we want to do albums rather than singles, it's something we're just kind of stuck at until we get to a certain level. You know what I mean? And honestly, maybe this is controversial, you tell me, I think bands should stop doing EPs. You know, the belief that it either should be singles or albums, because that EP, I think you could just splice that into four singles, and it would probably be better for your whole long-term plan of like a year. You know what I mean? If you were going to put out 1 EP a year with 4 songs, I'd rather just do 4 singles every 3 months, because it's just smarter that way. But if it's an album, I agree. I am an album person too. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about earlier, No Good Left to Give. I really like it. And I just, you know, I am an album person. But for smaller bands, I think you have to just adapt or die.
It's true.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, you know, I just, for me personally though, like I said, it's just, I would be cool with like doing away with EPs in general as well, mostly because like I'm, you know, like I'm a record collector, so like, you know, I don't want like a 7-inch or like a 10-inch.
I think they hold
like an LP, you know.
I just think they hold such little value, in the amount of content that you have on there could easily just be spaced, and you could get more results out of it rather than just throwing it and trying to see if it sticks. You know what I mean? It's just, not to mention too, I think like when you have too many EPs, I mean, maybe this is just me being a weirdo about it, because like my band has like 2 of them and we're kind of sick of doing EPs. But like, if you just have too many, you know, it's just like, man, you might as well just do a record at that point.
Yeah. And I just want to talk about it for a little bit for, you know, the space between words. So, you know, that I know that came out kind of towards the tail end of last year, correct?
Yeah, it was, I want to say it was July
Okay.
2020.
So like I approaching, you know, the beginning of the pandemic, you know,
Yes.
you released that essentially 2 or 3 months into it. So like, was the plan always to release it then? How did it go? Because I could see by the pain on your face. Yeah.
I'm so glad you asked me that, because I was thinking about it as we were watching the video. So, at the time, you know, we were planning on putting it out probably, I think like April or March or something like that. And then the events of March 2020 happen. And, you know, we have all these shows get canceled and everything, and nobody knows, you remember when all the tour dates of March and onwards got canceled and people were rescheduling for June?
Yeah.
So, you know, I remember talking with our management at the time, and they were more, you know, inclined to want to like push it back to like June or something like that. But like basically, like me and the band were just like, no, we can't wait that long. Like we're sick of this. We have to put music out, because our last piece of music out before that was a single called Runaway, and I think we put it out in like 2018, September 2018. So we were dying to put music out. It had been a year and a half. And so like it got pushed off of 2 months of what we expected it to be, which we weren't happy about, and especially because we had like we had a tour for the summer get canceled, and the last show was going to be with like Bad Omens. It was going to be a great tour.
Sure.
But you know, so we basically just said, you know, can I swear on this?
Yeah. Have at it.
Okay, we basically just said fuck it. We're just like, all right, let's just, you know, put the video and the single out next month. And so we did it with Mountain Eyes, and you know, that was our first like really well-structured release, because back before that we weren't very organized with the way we put out music or anything like that. Like Runaway, we thought like had gigantic single potential, but we didn't know anything about marketing our music effectively, and it flopped big time. And it still disappoints me to this day, because I thought that song could have done a lot better than it really did. Like I feel like Runaway could have done what What Have You Done has been doing right now, but it is what it is. You know, you move on, you grow, and you figure it out for the rest of the music. You know, so we, you know, we put out Mountain Eyes, and the reception went really well. And then we put out Gray Matter like 2 months later. And then we put out the EP, and it was cool because we had 3 music videos to go along with it. And we were, you know, we spent a lot of money for it and everything. And, you know, even for that release, we still kind of just didn't know exactly what we were doing. That's what's been cool with like our new single, What Have You Done? Because like now we have like basically 7 years of putting music out, and we know, you know, what marketing tools to use, what, to be blunt, are a waste of time and resources and energy. And you know, we've just been trying to do what's like we find is effective. But I gotta say, as painful as it was putting out a record during the pandemic with the space between words, I mean, it's really just something we needed at the time, because obviously we're all feeling horrible because of normal pandemic related things, but not being able to play music and go play the shows and everything like that, it just kind of wears on your brain after a while. So being able to put out that music and get a good reception on it was just really important. But, you know, I was really pleased with the reception we got, but we were also learning how to market our music better at the time. So it was a give and take thing. And like that record too, I thought that record was the first time we sounded like a modern thing, you know, like, so like we had an EP before that was called Double the Drifters, Half the Spirit. And don't get me wrong, there's some cool songs on there, but like there's a lot of spoken word on there. And it kind of sounds like an older post-hardcore record. And like, that's mostly on me as the guitar player, because I'm the only one that writes guitar parts. And I feel like I kind of wasn't writing like a modern record. Like it sounded like something like, you know, that might come out like a couple years prior or something like that. And that's just kind of not what I'm aiming for. Like I want to be, you know, I'm not saying that I'm just following whatever trend or anything like that, but it's important to me that the Safest Ledge be on top of things. Like Bring Me the Horizon, for instance, they're always like 2 to 3 years ahead of every trend. Yeah. You know what I mean? And because of that, they're light years ahead of everybody, and they're always more popular than everybody. And like, we're just trying to take from that. Like, we're not going to get stuck in, and I'm not trying to throw shade on any band that is, you know, doing something that, you know, if let's be blunt, if you play 2010 era metalcore nowadays, you're only going to go so far, because that has aged pretty harshly. You know, and it's become memed to death. And even though it was the biggest thing in the scene 10 years ago, we've moved on from it. So, you know, same with like Newfound Glory era pop punk. You know, we've transitioned into the more emo pop punk and the more, I don't know, let's say like flannel wearing pop punk. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's what I just felt with Double Drifters.
Unless you're 35 and that's still all you listen to. Because that's me.
But hey man, I one of my favorite bands right now is Thursday. So I trust me, I'm on a big 2000s kick. But but Double the Drifters, Half the Spirit felt old. and that's something that the Space Between Words didn't feel to me. I was like, this feels like bands that are coming out now, and I was that artistically, that's what I was most happy about.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I went on a huge tangent. I'm not gonna lie.
It's all good, man. So before we shift over to some hockey talk and some sports talk, we do have a quick message from our sponsor. So use our promo code THPN. Head over to DraftKings and watch this quick ad. Week 1 may be over, but the season's just getting started at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. To kick off Week 2, DraftKings is giving new customers $200 in free bets instantly when they bet $1 on any football game. Listen up, because you don't want to miss this. Head to DraftKings Sportsbook app now and place a $1 bet on any Week 2 game to receive $200 in free bets instantly. If Sportsbook is not yet available in your state, DraftKings still has huge cash prizes up for grabs all season long with their daily fantasy contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any football game. That's promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum of $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Yeah. That's what's up, man. Go to DraftKings. Week 1 kind of did me I don't want to say dirty yet. We still got a couple of games left, but I'm currently up by about like 45 points against whoever I'm playing. The team that I'm playing is actually, their team name is I Farted. So
my dad is a lifelong Browns fan because we're from Ohio. Yep. And I chose the Chiefs as my team 3 years ago because I like the color red, and I'm just it's a lot of controversy in the home today.
Yeah, man.
But and Pat Mahomes is my guy. But I haven't checked my fantasy stuff today. I'm not sure how I'm doing. Hopefully, I'm doing good.
Yeah, sometimes you just find a diamond in the rough. I made the decision to draft Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. So.
Let me think. I did Kyler Murray, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
Geez, I forget who else I had. Some whatever kicker from the Ravens, and then
Justin Tucker, I think.
Justin Tucker. That was
still the kicker for the Ravens.
He might be. I might be dating myself. But then again, I don't
know. Honestly, I just chose whatever the projected points, whatever the highest projected points kicker was him, and I was like, all right, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, nobody really ever cares about a kicker.
Yeah,
but like, so, and it's funny, I'm definitely more of a hockey fan than I am a football fan, but fantasy football is just easier, right? Because it's like, once a week, you don't have to worry about this and that. And I've tried fantasy hockey, man, and
so conversely, like my main sport, my main hobby is like basketball. And like watching NBA, and like fantasy basketball is absolute hell. You have to update it every single day. Exactly. And it's not as fun because hardly anybody plays it. You know what I mean? Nope. So like, it doesn't feel like an event, and I have to update it every day, and it's not fun. I got to give it to fantasy football. They got the structure is just better.
Yeah, the structure is so much better. But no one is ever going to deny, though, that like the most fun sport to watch is hockey. I mean, like it just is. It's just like it's just lightning in a bottle. No pun intended to the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know if they're in bottles, but they should be.
Back-to-back champions.
So let's hear it, man. So, I mean, I'm coming into this blind because I don't know where you sit in hockey allegiances, but being that you're from Ohio, is it safe to assume that you're a Blue Jackets fan, or am I off base?
Hell no, I hate the colors. No, so let me explain the dynamic of like Ohio sports first.
Yeah, please.
To like boil it down.
Uh-huh.
So and every sport is a little different with this. Everybody with football seems to be very regionally dedicated, which, you know, I respect. You know, you like whatever teams you want. You know, everybody that's a Dallas Cowboys fan or you're a Yankees fan, that's cool. You like who you like. I don't care. I got no beef with that.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, like my dad, for instance, has always been like a Cleveland sports fan. So I've always liked Cleveland teams, but they never had a hockey team or anything like that. And for like, so in the Youngstown area, we're in between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and we're like 3 hours away from Columbus. So I'll be honest with you, I've never met a Blue Jackets fan in my life. In my life, I'm being serious with you. I'm serious. I know one on Facebook. That's it. But what's funny is because we're an hour away from Pittsburgh, obviously there's a lot of Steelers fans here by association, and because like the Steelers are like one of the 3 biggest NFL franchises. But so they naturally just have a lot of fans, like say like the Cowboys do, or say like the Maple Leafs do, you know. But you know, conversely, that like in Pittsburgh sports, like, you know, you have the Steelers that perennially have won championships, and then the Penguins that have done the same thing. So, you know, by association and them being you know, close locally, I've always just I thought the logo was cool. No, I'm sorry. It boils down to stupid things like that sometimes, you know, like, the logo's cool with a penguin with a hockey stick, you know, and because, you know, they were just, you know, they were like a semi-local team that was winning titles. And I was really into that. In the time that I started, you know, watching it, I was like, oh yeah. And because I really, you know, really got like invigorated with sports around like 2016. And that's when, you know, like, you know, the Cavs won the title, and like, that's my favorite son. So like, I was really jacked about that. And then the Penguins won the title, I think like the same week, you know? So, you know, by association, you know, that's just kind of, you know, and that's the same thing with a lot of people in this area, is everyone just, you know, has been about that team because it's local and they've won titles, and that holds a lot of weight with people, you know? So, and my bass player, I don't know how much hockey he really watches anymore, but he's been a Flyers fan, and it's funny because he used to wear his Flyers jersey to like every show for a while. He was telling me this story once about how he was at like the Pittsburgh airport for some reason. I can't remember what. And he was wearing his Flyers jersey, and some dude like came up to him and just like started like giving him the business over it. And I was like, damn, man, you're really like in controversial territory with that, but you were kind of asking for some abuse there.
Yeah, no, like Philly fans are typically like the most brutal ones, you know? Like,
oh yeah, they flip cars and stuff.
Yeah, dude, they got the tunnel to the Holiday Inn.
Did you see the video of like after the Eagles won the Super Bowl? That, I mean, they were destroying that place.
Dude, it's insane. I mean, they're the only they literally were just like rifling snowballs at Santa. Like that's like, you know, that's the Eagles lore, man. But yeah, I mean, the Penguins are a killer team. I mean, you know, especially, you know, if you said you kind of started following them, you know, around 2016. I mean, you're talking, you know,
yeah, to be blunt, when they won the title, that was when I started following them.
But I mean, you know, Evgeny Malkin and Sid Crosby, and I guess that was, you know, one of those teams that was just like an incredible team to watch. And, you know, I mean, coming out of the same conference as, you know, the Islanders, which kind of sucks. You know, it always sucks to kind of watch another team succeed when your favorite team isn't. But, you know, like respect, you know, even though
all right, you got us this year. Being a sport too is cool, man.
Yeah,
all right, chill out.
And Crosby and Malkin get a bad rap, you know, because of the kind of players they are. But really, I mean, as a hockey fan, you realize that, you know, guys like them are integral to the game staying afloat. You know, like,
you know what? Like, I'm so glad I cut you off again. Please finish your point first.
No.
I'm sorry.
But that's all I was saying is, like, you know, even if you hate them as hockey players, you can appreciate the fact that they are giving the sport you love, you know, just raising that platform up a little bit, you know, which is a good thing.
So I'm glad you said that, because it was a really interesting thing I was talking about with some buddies today. I have like a Cavs Discord, and like we were like one of the channels is like other sports, and we talked about like something like that. And we were like talking about like the decline of baseball, and like how there's no stars in baseball that anybody gives a shit about. And that's like true. Conversely, we were like, when's the last time you knew when's the last time that someone you knew in your life that wasn't like a sports fan, or was just a very casual sports fan, knew a baseball player's name. Like what? Like I could, if I asked my girlfriend right now who a baseball player is, I don't. Well, actually, she worked for the Indians for a while, so that wouldn't work. But
Yeah.
you know, like normal people that aren't into sports, like would they be able to name somebody? And somebody was making the argument that Sidney Crosby was that for a while, but I don't know how to comment on that because I live so close to Pittsburgh and I live so close to and know so many Penguins fans that I've just always known the name. I've always known Malkin's name. I've always, you know, even before I was really like watching that stuff, like back in 08 and 09. So I don't really know how to comment on that because they've always been around me, but I don't know. Did non-sports fans know who the hell Sidney Crosby was back then? I don't know.
And it's like, and that's a tough thing because hockey being the most pointedly alternative sport is like, you know, a non-sports fan might not even know like any hockey players. And that's like kind of the travesty of hockey in general is that there's so much brilliance in the game, and you know, non-sports fans kind of get hung up on the quote unquote like the glitz and glamour and the superstars, right? So I mean,
so I'm sorry, I keep
no, you're good, man.
I think it boils.
Discourse. It's fine. Yeah.
I think it boils down to this, and I talk about this with basketball too, conversely, which is a more popular sport like in America.
Oh, yeah.
But it comes down to the same principle: is you don't play youth hockey unless you're like one of those kids that plays youth hockey their whole life. You know what I mean? Like anybody I've known that played youth hockey played it their whole life. And like one, it's a really expensive sport to do because of all the gear and everything like that. You got to go do the open skates. Our drummer's cousin has been like a hockey player his whole life, and he was telling me like, you know, like his workout schedule along when he goes skate and everything, and like it's demanding, you know. So I think it comes down to this. It's really hard to. Most kids have played either Little League or like flag football or something. So you kind of, I think you can enjoy something more when you understand the basic fundamentals of it. But like, let's say like with like basketball or hockey, like one, you really won't play it unless you're tall or really good at it. So not a lot of people play it. Not a lot of people really understand a lot of fundamentals of it. And then like conversely hockey, not a lot of people play it because of availability, convenience, and you need to know how to ice skate on top of it. You know what I mean? Like it seems like everyone I've known, and maybe you guys have played it before or know guys that played it, so maybe you could speak to this more, but everyone I've ever known that's played it has come from a hockey family, and they, you know what I mean? You grow up learning how to ice skate, and then, you know what I mean?
I think it's a little bit different for Tom and I because we grew up when Mighty Ducks was legit the most popular movie. Like 1992, Tom, we were what, 6'5"?
Yeah, 5 or 6, yeah.
5 or 6 years old when the first Mighty Ducks came out.
Yeah.
And that movie was literally the most popular movie when you're that age. And a lot of kids who are now like 35 got into hockey because of that movie.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't come from a hockey family, but now, like in the year 2021, I totally agree with you that only kids that grow up in hockey families are playing hockey because it's so demanding. Like the kids got to get up at 5 a.m. to go get ice time or, you know, or super late at night.
And the crazy thing though, is like, so also the era in which we grew up was like an era of like, of superstars, man. Like if you look at the 90s in sports in general, right?
I mean, even Gretzky, just like even there.
That's exactly. So in the 90s, right? The NHL had Gretzky and Lemieux and, you know, like, and these big names, right? But then of course the NBA,
Michael Jordan.
You had Michael Jordan's, you had Scottie Pippen, you had Dennis Rodman, you had
Patrick
Ewing, right?
Even baseball, you had Ken Griffey Jr.,
Griffey, McGuire, Sosa, like you had these big names, and I mean, you know, football, you had it too. You had, you know, Joe Montana kind of coming on, you know, off the twilight of his career.
Yeah, the Cowboys winning like 3 Super Bowls.
Oh yeah, Troy Aikman and all those guys. But that was the era of like, you know, ESPN was like literally became like a juggernaut, right? And it's just like. And I was that kid. Like I went to bed with my TV on every night and woke up to it every morning. And
Mhm.
at night, Sports Center was on, and in the morning, Sports Center was on. And I mean, when I tell you I did that for probably 5 years, like, I'm not joking. Like, that was what
Yeah.
I did. Like, and so because of that, like, sports were always just like just ingrained in me. But in the 90s, it was just so different. Like, the way, like, the way just the MLB was just so much different. And like, watching, McGuire versus Sosa and all that kind of stuff, these big names, and like guys like, Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens, and like these just like absolute like maniacs of players, was what made it so cool. Now, fast forward to today, you still have some of that, but the sensationalism around it isn't as broad because of where sports takes a back seat to nowadays,
Yeah.
because there's so much more that you can, it's at your fingertips. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you could choose not to give a shit about sports for the rest of your life, and you'll be quite content because you've got TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all this
Netflix.
other stuff, and Netflix and Hulu to keep your attention, right? So it's
You,
like,
you know what
you
too
got it,
is
yeah.
hockey is at like it's a built-in disadvantage compared to the other three, because obviously nothing topples the NFL. Anybody that thinks otherwise is wrong. It's just popularity. It's undeniable. You know what I mean? MLB, going to a baseball game is kind of like a social event thing at this point. You know what I mean? Something to take. I mean, I no knock to people that are diehard baseball fans, but it's just, go out to the ballpark, summertime type of thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Hockey is like it has boiled down to, based off of the popularity of it, and lack of people like Gretzky, or multiple guys like Crosby, that, if you're going to a hockey game, you probably are a hockey fan, or maybe you're just a casual sports fan in that city. But, I think, to my original point, it boils down to, it's hard to appreciate the game if you never played it, even at a very small level. You know what I mean? Like, anybody can play pickup basketball. Anybody can play little league when they're a kid, or flag football. But I know like 3 people that have played hockey. And it's in Ohio, where like I live 5 minutes from a rink. It's not like it's unaccessible like in this area specifically. But if you don't grow up with it in some facet, in the Mighty Ducks movie, for instance, like I had it on VHS too. I get you, but I can't think of something like that for my generation. So there's not a lot of entry points. And especially nowadays for like a younger generation, I don't really know how you grow the game in that way, because its cultural currency is running out. You know what I mean? And it's the same problem with baseball. You have no stars, and its cultural currency is running out.
Yeah.
I think they gotta just bring back the popularity of roller hockey, because that takes away from being expensive, battling for ice time. Like, you can literally play. All you have to do is play in a parking lot and put up the boards, and you can play roller hockey.
You know what first got me interested in hockey, now that I really think about it, is that Rocket Power cartoon.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How they would play street hockey. I thought that was the coolest shit. Especially, like, it seemed like, I don't know, I can't talk for kids like my brother's age. My brother's like 16. But like back, like when we were kids, like in what year were you guys born?
87.
Okay, 96. So like I feel like skateboarding and like rollerblading, everything like that, like that popularity, maybe somebody that's really into that stuff could prove me wrong, but I feel like the popularity of that even has waned down considerably. At least there's not a lot of like, I mean, I guess there's never going to be like another like Tony Hawk figure as big as him, because he hit it at the very, very perfect time, hitting the 900 and the X Games at that point in time.
Mhm.
But like, I feel like, skateboarding and rollerblading was really had a lot of currency with kids my age when we were watching like cartoons and stuff like that. So like I saw like Rocket Power, and they were like playing roller hockey, like street hockey with like rollerblades. And that just looked like the coolest shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's this game for the regular Nintendo that probably came out in like 91 maybe, called California Games. And California Games was like a bunch of like little mini games that was like, based around of like the cool shit that was coming out of California. And they
Yeah.
had rollerblading, they had skateboarding, they had like inline skateboarding and half pipe and like surfing and all this stuff. And it just was like, it just like was one of those things that like the teetering point was there. And like,
Yeah.
all the cool shit comes out of California. So like,
Yeah.
as that wave, no pun intended, like kind of like swathed over the country, essentially, it's just like, this generation, like, Mikey and I's generation, I say it specifically because like 96 and 97, we're like, we're 10 years old. Like we're right in that like pocket of like, like we are pushing the buying power from our parents. Cause it's like, we want. So,
Yeah.
and that was the time where like, you had, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and you had Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey on like N64, and you had the Madden games, and you had NBA Jam. And so like I know it's kind of silly to say, but like video games I think sparked a lot of love in our generation for sports. I really believe that.
I feel like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, I feel like so much of that was what made skateboarding like continually so popular with like kids my age, because I was like 8 years old when all those games were coming out. And conversely, like the Madden games, like I mean, it's football, it's big no matter what, but like those were gigantic still too, and then so on and so forth, so I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. And the other cool thing, and we're probably going back 25 episodes, but we had the pleasure of having Steven Sabell, who curated all of the soundtracks for all of like the EA sports games. And it's
That's
like,
cool.
and that is another thing. So like, as kids, I was playing NHL on, Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, where like the only songs that you would hear was like Brass Bonanza if you were the Hartford Whalers and you scored a goal, or just the sound of like the penalty box opening, just like, but then, enter like the next generation of video games where all of a sudden, like you pop in, your PlayStation or PlayStation 2 disc, and all of a sudden you hear like Collective Soul and, and Gob and like all of these, like all of these punk bands or alternative bands. And all of a sudden you're like, ooh, wow, this is like super cool. And now like it comes to a point where there are a lot of people who cite getting into like alternative music or punk music or emo
from
music.
Video games. Yes.
Not even from video games, from the NHL soundtracks. Like,
see, that's really
how
interesting
they
you
did
say
it.
That.
Like, it's wild.
It's funny you say that, because in alternative music, it seems like it's so comprised of so many kids, at least at my like at my age, like so many kids, I guess we're all adults now, because like I'm 25, but like that were not like sports fans or anything. So like sometimes like I felt like the odd duck out with that, because like I was like, that was actively some of my interest.
Yeah, sure.
But like hockey seems to be the one that like really takes foothold in alternative music. And I never really thought about the correlation there until you like brought up the soundtrack there, because I know a lot of guys that are really I don't know if you guys are like fans of The Devil Wears Prada, but Mike Karanica,
we had him on the pod.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm gonna listen to that tomorrow on my way to work.
Yeah. Do it, man.
But it has a lot of currency in like specifically the hardcore community, but like a lot in alternative music. And I never really put two and two together about why that is. Can I ask you guys something? Where are you guys from?
New York.
We're from New York
originally.
Okay, so Mikey, are you an Islanders fan too?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, can I ask you guys, because I've been spoiled in my short fandom as a fan, because like I got to experience two titles, or well, really one. And I know like Penguins were still like the top of their division, like last season. I think they were like a game under the Caps. But I've been kind of spoiled going into it, because I started off liking a team that won a title. So like, tell me, like, you're basically, I know it sounds like a stupid question, but like, what has been like your experience as a fan of that team? Because I know, like, if anybody talks to me about like New York sports or something, it's usually about the Rangers. So tell me your experience there.
Yeah, that's a loaded question, and
yeah, man.
but I'll take a stab at it. So Okay. I mean, I'll answer. I'll answer. But you said your dad was a Browns fan, right?
So it's like my home has always been a Cleveland sports thing, like Browns,
Okay.
Indians, Cavs. So it's
Yeah.
not been a lot of success.
So what I was gonna say is, if you really want to know what it's like to be an Islanders fan, ask your dad what it's like to be a Browns fan. But that's kind of the truth. Is the Islanders are they're a very interesting team because of their fan base. So their fan base is probably one of the most passionate fan bases in the NHL, and that's even superseding like Canadian teams, where in Canada hockey is like the NFL, right? So
yeah, like those poor Leafs fans.
Yeah,
but at the same time, one of the smaller fan bases. So
And that's-
yes,
and
most
that- yeah.
passionate, but also very small niche fan base.
So so being an Islander fan over the past, let's say 20 years, right, has been tough because the Islanders were perennial bottom feeders for a long time. They had a couple of little flashes of, okay, like maybe we could get something going, but then early exits in the playoffs or collapses before the playoffs, like all of the kind of sports tropes that you hear with bad teams that like want to gut your heart out. But, enter now, as with the Islanders, call it probably 4 years ago, right? Where the Islanders shed one of their like most popular players in John Tavares, who was like their superstar. And then all of a sudden the team, in the absence of like a major superstar, started to build this camaraderie and found a way to win. So now you've got this like ultimate underdog story, really, where you've got this fan base that's always looked down on, by the other major market team, right? Because the Rangers were the original six, and they've been around since the 1920s or whatever.
And
it's like the Yankees to the Mets,
Exactly.
And they play in the heart of Manhattan.
Exactly. So literally, like when you think of New York City, you think of Madison Square Garden and the New York Rangers, whereas the Islanders are just, some fucking rinky-dink team that, plays on the fish, But these past couple of years, the Islanders have become one of the top contenders, and it's really been this team that doesn't have any like real superstars. And the fans, the Islanders fans, and not only just the Islanders fans, but like NHL fans in general, like are starting to like hitch their wagon to this Islanders thing, because it's like, what a fun and interesting and cool thing to watch is these players who otherwise on any other squad would probably kind of be like buried or just like a, or just like a jersey number, are now producing at a level where this team is becoming a real contender. And dare I say, maybe this year, but if not this year, maybe a year away from actually like raising a cup. So I guess to answer your question and like to compartmentalize all that, to put it into a nice package with a bow, it was shitty being an Islander fan. It was, but it is now.
I was just going over their hockey. I was just going over their hockey reference page, and I was looking through the season totals. No, I get you. I think that's very interesting, because like as somebody that like recently like adopted a fandom not so many years ago, and like I said, like with a title, like it's a very different experience, and I think I conversely feel that with like different sports. I like the Indians, now the Guardians. Absolutely. Probably the most disappointing thing of the past 5 years. So no, I get you. That's really cool. I think it's funny because I was thinking before, like I know the Lightning just won. They won 2 straight cups, right? Yeah. I know before, like I thought, like, God, how horrible must it be to like be like when they hit the wins the wins. What was their wins record? I think it was like 60-22. It was something like that.
Yeah, the year where they were the top team and got booted. Round. Yeah. Was it Carolina, right?
No, Columbus.
Columbus is who it was. Yeah,
that's right. It was.
Yeah.
See, this goes back to it, and this is what I think is so interesting about Ohio sports, like in Northeast Ohio, in like its love affair with the Penguins is, again, like I've never met a Blue Jackets fan, and maybe that's just where I'm at regionally. Maybe it's huge in Columbus, but the Penguins have always just been. They've had so much cultural currency in this area because it's close. A lot of people are Steelers fans, and they've won titles, and that's ultimately like that's what people. That's why people like adopt.
Yeah,
you know,
and
like teams.
the Blue Jackets are also like they're a newer franchise,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean the Penguins have that pedigree. You know,
Yeah.
they've won championships, and again, a lot of that stems back from those '90s teams. Of again, Jaromir Jagr and Mario Lemieux and Ron Francis, and just like all of these superstars that were winners. So
Yeah.
winning does a lot. Like when you're and for the NHL personally, like I said, any fan that jumps on board to be a hockey fan is like all right by me, because the more fans we can have, like when they talk about like fair weather fans, like to me that's like a football and a baseball thing, because for hockey personally, like you could tell me that, oh, I never watched a game in my life and I jumped onto the San Jose Sharks bandwagon because I think their logo is cool. Awesome, great.
It's a good logo.
That's another pair of eyes.
So good.
It's another pair of eyes watching hockey, and another pair of eyes watching hockey, and hopefully maybe you love that logo enough that you're going to go and buy a San Jose Sharks jersey, which means now you're giving revenue to the NHL. And the NHL has a lot of things to work on, and Mikey and I have recognized that and have spoken openly about it, but still our love for hockey like supersedes, like it's fine. Like I could be surrounded by like 50,000 Ranger fans, and like, is it going to suck a little bit? Yeah, probably, because they're probably going to say Potvin sucks to me a bunch of times because they just haven't. That's all they do. But like, but is like 50,000 Ranger fans means that there's 50,000 NHL fans, which means that the sport I love is going to get more eyes, and more eyes on the sport, more revenue means more big things. Like, they just entered into like a pretty high profile agreement with ESPN to have stuff on their networks, which they, ESPN got rid of a long time ago, and hockey became like the black sheep. Like when I tell you, like, during like the NBA final season, they would rather like talk about, do like a 30-minute discourse on what shoelaces LeBron was wearing versus like talk about the 3 overtime game 6 winner,
It's so funny you say that, because I'm so huge into basketball discourse and fandom, and the way it's discussed in like sports media is atrocious. And I think it's always funny when I think about it from the hockey and baseball perspective, because I'm sure like, like those like leagues in general would just be dying to be talked about on First Take or something like that. But I don't know, they're different strokes, I guess. My question for like you guys, since you guys are like really seasoned into the thought of this, is like where does the NHL go like with the problems that it has now with creating new fans, just because of, and again, this is my opinion, but the nature of how you get into it as a kid nowadays, because there's nothing really in pop culture other than the games itself that is driving you to, the sport. Like, where does that get corrected at? Is it something as simple as like another Mighty Ducks type, infusion into popular culture, or, I don't really know,
That's a tough question, because even with our superstars, because like, Connor McDavid, you could argue is better than Sidney Crosby, but he's not the household name that Sidney Crosby was. Like, if you ask a casual sports fan who Connor McDavid is, they might have no clue. So even like our best and brightest in the sport isn't like a personality. And I think that's also part of it, is the lack of personality from NHL players.
And you know what? I feel like, conversely, we were talking about the same thing with alternative music. Like our alternative music scene is just getting less and less personality, even though I think the talent in the alternative music scene right now is probably my favorite it's been in like the past 20 years.
And the quality of recording is the best it's ever been.
That's very true.
It's a sad fact that the less stars you have, the worse off you are.
Yes.
And convert, music, sports. It's just, unfortunately, that's just where it is because, I was talking about this with somebody the other day, back like when my dad was a kid, what were your options to do when you were bored? Watch sports, read, or like, I mean, I know I'm going to miss a million things, but like
Sit
your
on
options
car.
were, yeah, I mean, that's why so many like boomers were like car guys, but like there's so many more options nowadays. You don't really need to be a sports fan to like you know, get any kind of immediate satisfaction or any kind of fandom or hobby or anything like that. So it's problem on top of problem. But I think ultimately, I think all the leagues are dealing with this other than really the NFL because they're just are what they are. But yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, like the NHL needs to be careful because if they try to just copy what the NBA is doing, because like you said, the NBA is a little bit cooler. There's celebrities that actually like basketball already. Like if they try to mimic that or copy it, it's going to look forced, and then their diehard fans are going to be jumping ship rather than
that's I think is a really great point, Mikey. And that's why, so like, for instance, like I like how you guys brought up about how, during the Stanley Cup finals, they were talking about the NBA finals, and during the NBA finals, I guarantee you what they were talking about was free agency, because that's the only thing sports media talks about anymore with the NBA.
Mhm.
And, there is no immediate, and there's such easy immediate entry into that league because it's so easy to talk about free agency or something like that. But there's no, conversely, there, like the NBA network, like NBA TV is atrocious. It's awful. It's horrible programming, which like the NHL network is really, really good programming, in my opinion. And like, same with like the, whatever the NFL channel is, it's really, really good. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like at least the NHL does a way better job at targeting its niche audience because one, it has to, but two, it's just kind of better at that. It's the same way like the NFL network is like at its, like all of its programming.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I agree with that. And who knows, hopefully the NHL will find this partnership with ESPN will be, a worthwhile one for them. But so we've been chatting for about almost like $1:15. So
hold on, Tom. I just got to ask, just because
go for it.
You do mention Cleveland a bunch, are you a Cleveland Monsters fan?
I've been to a couple Cleveland Monsters games. I had a good time. Yeah.
Okay. Just I'm a big AHL guy too.
No, I get you. I wouldn't give myself the full fan thing there, but I've been to a couple games. I had a good time. You know what's funny? We have the Youngstown Phantoms, and I remember, or we used to have the Steelhounds. Did you guys ever hear of that?
No.
It's like I don't know how the minor league system works with hockey, but like it was basically the equivalent of single A baseball,
okay,
or maybe double A baseball. And I remember I used to go to a bunch of Steelhounds games for like my birthdays at our little mini arena we have downtown. So yeah,
that's awesome. No,
but Monsters games are a good time,
and their logo is fantastic.
It is, yeah. I'm glad they changed it to Cleveland instead of Lake Erie Monsters. It just kind of didn't ring well, but
so,
yeah.
Did they? So Lake Erie, is that like Erie, Pennsylvania, or was it still like the Cleveland area?
No, it was still Cleveland because they play games in the Q.
Gotcha. All right, I didn't know that. I thought maybe they just recently got the team. Good to know.
Yeah, it's been there for a minute.
Hell yeah, man. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. But before we do, one final question I have for you. So as far as the future of the Safest Ledge, I know you guys had recently put out a single, I think I saw, right? Was that?
Yeah, we put out a single called What Have You Done about a month ago. And it had the music video premiere on Dreambound and everything like that. And it's been doing
awesome.
Been doing pretty good. We're real happy about it.
Awesome. So I know things are a little tenuous right now with, the way the world is, and, the pandemic kind of not really coming to a close, but do you guys have any, other than, this past show that you guys played, do you guys have any real touring plans or anything coming up that you can talk about? Or if you can't talk about it, you know.
Yeah, we've got you guys know the Magwas, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, got something brewing with them soon.
Nice.
I'll tell you guys after we record. But and then this Thursday we're playing with Silent Planet in Cleveland,
Cool.
and then we'll be playing in Youngstown on Friday, and then Fredonia, New York on Saturday.
Sure.
And then we're announcing a couple more shows. I think the day this podcast comes out too, so that's pretty cool too.
Awesome.
So you know, we'll be around the Midwest in the East Coast a little bit to kick off fall and winter.
Love to hear it, man. And then if you could, you know, just give a quick blast of socials where we can find you, all that fun stuff, just so our listeners can get to you.
At Safest Ledge OH, that's our Twitter and Instagram, and then same thing for Facebook. And then hopefully new music next year. But we'll be playing a lot of shows in the meantime.
Love to hear it, man. I love it. And then, you know, if you know, Drew Carey, if you ever run into him, you know, anytime anyone around Cleveland, you know, I talk to them, I just always want to talk about Drew Carey.
Did Drew Carey really live there?
Oh, Cleveland rocks, man. He loves Cleveland.
Oh, fuck, man. I've been
he said he was born in 1996. Like, he doesn't probably even know who
Drew Carey has no currency in my life.
Yeah, none
at all. I can't tell you what Drew Carey's even on.
Well,
is it on The Price is Right?
The Price is Right. And
dude, I forgot he's on that.
Yeah, well, now look at you.
I knew the Drew Carey show. I've heard of it. I saw it on like TV Land once.
Yeah, it was great. Gail Ryan was part of the Drew Carey show.
I don't know who the fuck that is.
Yeah, no one knows who that is, Tom. You just always bring up personal people that
I could probably name the 10th man on the Islanders sooner than I could name who that is.
Yeah, because Tom is ridiculous.
Real quick for me, who's winning the cup this year? Give me that.
It's going to be the Islanders. I think
it's going to be the Islanders.
The New York Hockey Islanders.
Back to back in the Eastern Conference Finals. You got to be mad.
Who they facing then? Who's that going to be? Give me a prediction on that one.
So the West Coast team
could be the Avs. Avs are still great.
It could be the Avs, yeah.
Could be the Knights.
It could be.
Yeah, it could be either of those teams. They're all dangerous, man. Honestly, and like you can't discredit. You know, I mean, the Oilers are a dangerous team too when they get it together. There's a lot of teams out of the West that could pop out, but you know, for as far as the Islanders are concerned, honestly and truthfully, you know, the Lightning, even though they've splintered off a little bit, they're still going to be a dangerous team. So,
really? I'm sorry. I had two more questions real fast. I'm going to do them really fast.
Yeah.
Best hockey jersey. What is it?
I think the Blackhawks.
I'm going to tell you. I'm gonna tell you what it is. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Oh, wait, hold up. I gotta Google exactly which one it is. It's the 2019 Stadium Series jerseys for the Penguins. The ones where it's just black and gold. Okay. Like there's no white in it.
I remember those.
I'm sorry. It's unfucking beatable. It's amazing.
I don't know. Also, the Arizona Coyotes Kachina jersey's pretty fucking dope too.
Those are dope. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look at that one. Also, the blue throwbacks for the Penguins. Those ones are amazing too.
Honestly,
I do like those.
I'm a vintage kind of guy. So like, give me like a Whalers jersey or like a North Stars jersey or like know or like even like a Nordiques jersey, man. Like I just love that shit. I really do. Or even a fucking a Cleveland Barons jersey. You know, Cleveland Barons. Don't sleep on the Cleveland Barons.
And what's the best logo? I want to know that. What's your favorite logo?
Islanders fisherman.
I do love me some.
Don't be a homer, bro. You got to choose a different one. Don't be a homer.
I think I'm gonna stay with my original answer of the Blackhawks. I really like the Kings logo.
Kings logo is cool. I think
slick, man.
I like the Sharks logo.
Shit.
Yeah, I do. And then if you're going for like simplicity and you're going for just like pure, nostalgia, it's the Red Wings, man. I mean, you can't beat that wing, dude. It's just like synonymous with hockey. Synonymous.
Yeah, I think my least favorite is probably just the Stars.
Yeah,
the new
boring.
Stars. Yeah,
the star with the D. Just star with the D. That does nothing for me. Word.
Yeah.
It was great talking to you guys, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely, Mason, dude. And we wish her, all great things in the future. Go ahead and check out all of their new stuff, the new single that's coming out, and check out that EP from last year because it's got some great stuff on it. And dude, thank you so much for being with us. And
Thank you very much.
We will catch up with you soon. All right.
Word.
And we're gonna
All right.
lead us out with "What Have You Done?" your latest single and video.
Cool.
Yeah.